I'm Chris, and you're watching Tucker Sonic. We're here to talk hi-fi. Marantz is, without question, one of the most iconic names in hi-fi. It all started in 1952 when Saul Marantz released the Consulate preamp, which he built in his kitchen. A year later, he teamed up with an audio engineer named Sid Smith, and Marantz the company was launched. Over the next decade, Marantz released highly regarded tube-based preamplifiers and power amplifiers. It was all going great until the 10B tuner. Though the 10B blew away all the other FM tuners on the market, it also cost way more than all the other FM tuners on the market. Not enough people bought it, and Marantz was busted. Saul sold Marantz to Superscope for $3 million, a choice he would very much later regret. In 1966, Marantz started manufacturing in Japan with a company called Standard Radio Corp. This led to the golden age, those gorgeous receivers that still sell for a good amount of money. For the last 70 years, Marantz has made a wide variety of audio products. Some of those products are very well known within the audio community, others are a little bit more obscure. George Flores from Midcoast Wind Repair is going to show us a bit of a sleeper Marantz turntable.
So today we're taking a look at the Marantz SLT12U linear tracking turntable. SLT stands for straight line tracking. That's another way of saying linear tracking. The SLT12U is actually the second version. The original SLT had a Shure V15, I believe Type 2, permanently affixed into the head shell. The U in SLT12U stands for universal and can incorporate just about any type of half-inch standard cartridge. Currently on my 12U, I have an Audio-Technica VMN 50SH Shibata stylus, and I use this for both stereo and quad listening. You've got your speed controls right here for 33 and 45, and then an on and off button, and then this is how the tone arm is guided across the turntable. Near the spindle underneath is a magnet. At the end of the record, the magnet picks up the tone arm. This is the bottom of the tone arm. This little rotating pulley is what moves the arm across the table. Platter here, your motor here. This is your primary counterweight. This is the second counterweight here for your minute adjustments. So here we have the cartridge sled. This mounts inside the head shell via a screw that connects right here. And then it slides into one of these two slots depending on the height of your cartridge. This is also why your cartridge can't have threads on the cartridge. It needs to be more of your typical mount with screws and nuts on the bottom here. And then it connects via a connector here. What you've got in here, this is a magnet that attracts to this screw. I have put a little piece of industrial felt here to kind of weaken that. This rotates, as you can see. The way that you make sure that this is level, I found, is to put this on and then lift up the head shell by hand, press it against that plate, make sure it's flat. This was a turntable released in the mid-60s by Marantz, designed and manufactured in New York. There are conflicting reports about when the original 12 was released, somewhere between 63 and 65. Now this is about the same time that Marantz was bought by Superscope and Saul Marantz left the company. Saul Marantz either was at the company and was part of the release of this, or he left the company before then and possibly advised them not to release it. I've used this for a couple years now. I got it home. I spent about 2 to 3 hours trying to set it up. Couldn't get it to work. And that was apparently a very typical experience. One account I found online from a guy who worked at a stereo store at that time said that people would often bring them back within 1 or 2 days and return them. Maybe the thing that confuses people the most is that this turntable has to be absolutely level for the tone arm to function at all. Okay, so this is way not level. When it goes this way, I can't get the tone arm to return to its housing. If you do it the other way, you're going to get the opposite problem. You're not going to get the tone arm out of its housing. If it's not level front to back, it's going to have somewhere in between those two. Included on the base here is a horizontal level. It's built into the turntable. It's functionally useless. If you don't take one of these levels that can also go front to back, the turntable's not going to work. They built in one adjustable foot. One adjustable foot is not enough for this turntable. I had the hi-fi store that I bought it at mount the cartridge, but it turns out it was mounted slightly incorrectly. It took me a while before I realized that and did my own adjustments. I use it daily now. It's great for a CD4 quad setup. When preparing an album for release on vinyl, the music is cut into a master disc by a special lathe that moves linearly, cutting the music into a groove as it moves straight across. Typically, these are played back on radial arm turntables. When an arm moves in an arc across a turntable, there are only 2 points on that record where the cartridge is perfectly aligned within the groove. It's always skewed by a small percent away from where it's supposed to be. Inner groove distortion is a type of high frequency distortion that takes place as you approach the center of a record. With CD4 quad records, on those inner grooves, you've got information going up to about 50 kilohertz. With the Marantz, once you've got it properly set up, there's no inner groove distortion at all, and it can play those inner grooves of CD4 records perfectly. This is an earlier linear tracking turntable from the 60s. They didn't really catch on until the 80s with the release of the Technics SL10. The arm moves across the record in a straight line, but it's done with the use of a servo motor. So it's in, and then it's out a little bit, and then the motor moves it back in. They sort of wiggle across the groove. There are modern turntables that use what's called air bearings. They use a frictionless tube, which needs an air supply, basically. These modern linear turntables are quite expensive. What's different about the 12U and the 12, the only thing that pulls the tone arm across the record is the groove itself.
Where did you find it?
I bought this at ignominiously closed. I don't know if we want to mention that.